Okay, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to one of my personal workshops. I've extended this opportunity to a lot of my colleagues and workers with me, alongside me in Medvocation, and I'm really excited to share with you guys today a couple of my personal pointers in terms of confidence and productivity. Now, this will not necessarily be linked directly to Medvocation and what we do as a company, but more internal perspective on things like confidence and productivity. Now, I've created a slide that we're going to work through and mention and go through everything there. And at the end of the message, I will have an opportunity for Q&A if there are any. But if any time if something is confusing or seems contradictory, then please feel free to unmute your mic and ask me at any time. So before I start, I just want to read to you basically about me. And I do apologize. I'm going to read from one of my cover letters just to put into perspective of where this is coming from. Now, it is important with any type of coaching, life, business, personal confidence, any type of feedback that you get from anyone, you always want to know where it's coming from, the source. Because in life, you might agree or might disagree with some opinions and feedback. And I always say, take feedback, take reviews, take, coaching, opinions, everything from anyone that you can, that you open yourself up to take it from. But at the end of the day, you need to know their perspective, the person's perspective, where it's coming from, so that you know how to align it with your own life. There might be phases or things that you don't quite necessarily agree with on. And with any type of coaching, that's 100% normal. It's not a doctor lesson where, it's science and facts, where we prescribe medication and this is the only set rule. No, it's just something to stir up the topic. So I'm going to give you some advice today on how I perceive things, on how I do things. And some of these things might be adaptable in your own life, and some of them might not even be applicable to your own life. But it is really a good perspective to know me a bit better as well, and then just to see how this can apply to your life. So first of all, about me, I'm a Commensa and ICF registered life, business, and performance coach. And I'm also a registered professional project manager. I'm also an MBA, a summa cum laude graduate, and an Innovations Award winner for my contribution in leadership development. I've successfully scaled 4 startup companies and was team lead of Starbucks' 2016 co-creation campaign. As part of my MBA, I've successfully mastered my studies in the areas of project management, digital marketing, risk management, macro and microeconomics, firm level economics and behaviors, corporate governance, and structuring. I'm also the co-founder and author of LNP, which is basically the leadership networking program, a syllabus dedicated to personalized leadership development in young professionals in both their career and personal obstacles, challenges, and paths. I'm the former CEO of 4-Dimensional Corporate and its affiliation 4-Dimensional Quantities. As a freelancer, I also implement emotional intelligence or EQ structures in corporate governed structures. Also the founder and COO of Deon Richter Coaching, a company specializing in life coaching, business coaching, and performance coaching. Currently, I partake in the University of Illinois PhD program, enriching my studies and dissertation in leadership development. I'm currently the Global Sales Director and Interim COO of Medvocation Limited. And that is everything about me. So today we're going to discuss a couple of things. We're going to talk about confidence and what confidence is. And we're going to look a bit about productivity also, and just basically reflect on that. Now, we're not really going to go too deep in productivity. Productivity is always structured in your current work environment. So we're just going to cover the basics to see, is it something that you can apply and use now, or something just to self-reflect on and use maybe in other opportunities. So, and for the reason that I'm not making it company specific, it's really just going to be a mention of a couple of topics. Now, confidence. Why did I decide to talk about confidence? Very, very simple. When it comes to sales, when it comes to life, when it comes to doing what you are good at, you need to be confident in doing it. Now, confidence really streamlines from various points, various attributes, topics. It's really a bigger perspective than one can ever imagine. And because it's so big, I really am going to mention a couple of things that we can think about, and we can hopefully apply that in our work lives, in our family matters, in our finance matters, in our personal lives, even in our religion. Confidence is something that is really just streamlined to go throughout. So we'll be referring to some things on the screens. If you are watching this live, you can follow your screen with that, but don't worry, as mostly I will read from the screen and then explain maybe a couple of points. So if you can't see your screen, or maybe you've got slow internet and you rather just listen to the audio, that is 100% fine. Now, because I'm going to talk a lot, I'm obviously going to take a break here and there, just taking a sip of water, and I really do apologize if that becomes problematic. So for example, if you hear this, that's me taking a sip of some good old water. So we aim to be about 45 minutes today, not really going to go, depending on any questions or uncertainties, or depending where I guide myself into with certain topics that we can discuss. So first thing is up is, what is confidence? Now, confidence really can be brought to perspective or light within 7 key points. Now, the first 7 key points one need to understand is, you need to own up to your natural potential. What does that mean? That means you need to know what you are naturally good at, but also in the sense you need to know what you are naturally not good at. A lot of people always say, it's really good to list your weaknesses and your strengths. And when we look at any self-development or reflection models or even business models, the first thing we ask people is actually to just have a look at what your strengths and weaknesses are. And because of that, it really, really is important to own up to your natural potential. You need to know what your potential is to be naturally good or naturally bad at something, and owning up to that. Now, owning up to your natural potential doesn't only mean owning up to what you're good at. You need to know, I'm bad at something, and own up to that. Don't be shy if you're horrible at something. At the end of the day, confidence really is something that is not only linked to something that you're good at, it's just owning up to your natural potential. Secondly, knowing the areas where you lack and being open to input and feedback. Exactly back to point 1. When you list and you own up to your natural potential, you naturally own up to something that you are good at and something that you're bad at. And going back to point number 2, knowing the areas where you lack and being open to input and feedback is so important. Guys, girls, it's really important to know that if in your industry, in your work, in your life, in your finances, doesn't matter where you see your strengths and weaknesses from, and you can subdivide that in categories, knowing that, in work, this is what I'm good at and this is what I'm bad at. In life, in finances, in my family, in my marriage, in everything, you can really list pros and cons, weaknesses and strengths, easy like that. But if you lack in something, to get the ultimate confidence, you need to be open to the idea to get feedback on that. You need to be open to the idea to ask people, listen here, you need to have feedback or input in my life on the areas that I lack at, so that I know on how I can improve or take opinion and advice and see what works and what doesn't work. Now, on that note, that's why I mentioned who I am in the beginning. Okay, be careful on where you get your input from. Okay, if you're going to get input from someone that's just there because they are great at something, but their input and feedback is really not something constructive or something to use, then be open to the idea, but don't feel forced that you ever need to follow the input and feedback given to you. You need to be in that space that you can make that own decision to receive this input and feedback in your life on the areas that you lack, and know where you stand with them. And you need to decide on, are you taking this feedback as something constructive, meaning something you need to change or do, or you just seeing it as feedback and really that person is not in the area in your life to speak into that area. Now, on that note, if you've got areas that you lack and you are open to get feedback, appraisal, or input on that matter, you're going to be the boss to decide, do I upskill or do I let go? There's no way that one should really focus in bad areas if you're not either opening or able to upskill that bad area into something better, or to just let it go. We've got so many people, when I speak to so many people know their weaknesses, they receive input and they take it personally and they linger on the negative, meaning they go either in depression, or they feel that they're not worth anything, or they feel they're not great at anything, or they feel they're not good at it, or doesn't matter what. But the reality is if you want to be confident, you need to be in the decision or in the space to make a decision. Do I upskill this or do I let it go? Because that is the most important thing that you need to realize with any weakness in your life. Upskill it or let it go. If it's just there, if it's just lingering. Now, when I say upskill, I don't mean it needs to become a strength. That's not what I'm saying. Upskill can mean anything. It can mean from just me being confident that this is my weakness. That's still upskilling it. It can mean that I'm going to turn this weakness into a strength. Yes, to some extent that is possible, especially in work ethics. Any skill can be taught or learned. So it is important that you can upskill it. But upskill can just also mean that I'm going to improve on this. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to, just create this and make it a strength of mine. But what it means is that I'm going to upskill it to a sense that I'm comfortable with this weakness in my life. For example, if I take myself, so I love sport. I absolutely love sport. And this maybe is a stupid example, but, I'm not great at it. So it was always a weakness of mine to love something that I'm not good at. But I was able to upskill it in the sense of knowing I can be fit enough to partake in certain sports. But I needed to come to the realization that I'm never going to be as good as certain people. And certain people not always being professionals, but just as much like my friends or family members or people doing this with me. So for me in that area of my life, my upskill looked like upskilling my fitness and coming to a sense of realization that this is not a professional skill of mine. This is not a strength of mine, but it's not yet anymore a weakness. And that is surely also seen as something that is an upskill or to let go. So I'm just going to pause there. I see a lot of more people joined us today. Guys, welcome. I have started. Just fall in line and listen. We're discussing a couple of points. You're more than welcome to mute your mic. You can choose to switch on or off your video. On your screen, you'll be seeing my slides, but if you can't see my slides, it's not a problem. You can just listen to my voice. And then after this meeting, I will make this video available or send it to you within the next couple of days so that if you missed anything or if you want to use it later, you are more than welcome to do so. This is not an official Medvocation training, rather just a personal training from my side. So going on to point number 4, never think you are not good enough as a person. Guys, this is something that really is the shaker when it comes to confidence, okay? So many people take their strengths and weaknesses personally. And it's 100% fine, as I mentioned in the previous points, that you will get to a natural position or need to come to a natural realization that you are human having strengths and weaknesses. And your strengths doesn't define you as a person, but nor does your weaknesses. So you should never be in the position that you think as a human, as a person, that you are not good enough. That is seriously, a lot of people come to that point. And that's where you need professional help or professional feedback or input in your life on, it's a psychological state of mind that is a really dangerous zone to get to see, oh my goodness, my list has 50 weaknesses and 2 strengths. So this means I'm a horrible person. No, you should never think you're not good enough as a person. And the one thing, I'm going to talk about it later as well again, and you'll see in brackets, I mentioned the baby unsure of its cry. So a lot of people have this wrong perception of what confidence is. Confidence, a lot of people think you need to be an extrovert, and that's the biggest myth we're going to bust, or you need to be able to speak in front of thousands of people, and that's a myth we can bust over and over again. And today we will definitely bust that myth that you guys will surely see is something that truly is really not something accurate or true. At the end of the day, we need to realize one thing, and this is the truth that society, our world, our colleagues and peers, sometimes even our families, rob us from the following. And the following truth you need to realize when it comes to confidence. There's an old saying and an old myth saying confidence is not something you are born with. It's something you develop. Okay? That is the biggest lie in society ever. You need to realize confidence is exactly what you are born with. It's something that if you do not keep or do not own up to that natural potential, or do not develop, or do not get feedback, or don't upskill or let go of it, or think of yourself as a bad person, then it becomes something that society robs from you, your family, your friends, your work, doesn't matter what. There are so many aspects that robs this truth from you, that confidence is something that you are born with, putting you in the space believing that you never had confidence and you need to build it. No. If you're in the space of feeling that you are not confident, you need to realize one thing. You don't need to build it. You need to refine. You need to tap into the confidence that you were born with. Now, what am I talking about? And this maybe is a stupid example, but have you ever heard a baby born unsure of its cry? I mean, a baby gets born knowing exactly what it can do with his cry. Do you ever see a baby coming out of the womb shy of its umbilical cord or physical appearance? No. And yes, to an extent, we might think that's a stupid example. It's a kid with no cognitive development to the extent where they can judge that, but that's true. At the end of the day, you were born with confidence, and confidence is something that you get born with. But as you grow older, you focus so much more on your weaknesses than your strengths. And you're so afraid of upskilling or letting go your weaknesses that it becomes a reality in our life that we are not confident. We feel that we're not confident. We look at other people and we think, oh my goodness, did you see how confident that person is? I wish, I had that confidence. Why? At the end of the day, you will have that confidence as long as you tap up and owning up to your own natural potential. Now, another point to remember is, what is confidence? It is not arrogance, okay? Confidence is not arrogance. There's a huge difference. We see people, especially when we look in the business world and young entrepreneurs or people that made a success, they really come and link their confidence to their successes. And they seem to be a bit cocky or arrogant. And we think that's what confidence is. And we want to be like that. Confidence is really, you need to understand, it's not arrogance at all. It is not linked to your success in the terms of how society sees your successes. Confidence is simply linked to owning up and standing in the gap of your own natural potential. A very other important thing to remember is the difference between being humble and being modest. Now, this is a very interesting point where we get very confused from early, later, even older ages. We get confused between the difference of being humble and modest. Now, let me explain. The opposite of being arrogant, surely in essence, is being humble. Okay, if you're not arrogant, you are being humble. So if we are saying confidence is not arrogance, surely there's a lot of truth in it, in saying confidence, as a matter of fact, is being humble. Now, what is being humble? Being humble, exactly what I said now, is the opposite of being arrogant. Okay, it's by not self-boasting. It's not by, the term speaks for itself. It's something that we can Google or YouTube or dictionary the definition of humble or humility. We know what humble means. Even, as Christians, or even other faiths as well, but majority as Christians, we see terms of humility of being a natural trait that we should have. And a lot of other cultures and religion preach on that as well, and saying this is humility is something that is really important to have, to be down to earth, to not, force feed anything down to other people, not make any other break down other people, but really just be humble, be the least in the situation. However, what society did in especially modern days is they confused humble with being modest. And society, friends, family, works, colleagues, leadership programs out there, there are various things out there, really started preaching, teaching, and explaining on modesty traits. Now, what's the difference between humble and modest? Very simple. If you are good at something, okay, as a matter of fact, if you are great at something, if you own up to your natural potential and you are confident in your weaknesses and in your strengths, and people recognize that, people usually compliment you or they attack you on those traits. That's what confidence is, okay? People will attack you on your confidence, attack you on your owning up, or they will compliment you. That we all know. Now, being humble is taking the compliment and just not giving the praise to yourself, giving the praise where it's due. Maybe you can, you're good at finances or you're great at finances, and someone says, way to go, that's amazing month you had. Or maybe in your job, way to go. Or maybe in sport, they say, oh my goodness, you're so fit and you're so fast and everything. And now people react in three ways. Number one is people reply with an arrogant way and saying, yes, I know, yes, I'm just brilliant, that's good. And because, my coach told me to own up to this, so yes, it's all about me, it's hard work, I'm just brilliant. Being arrogant. That is not what confidence is. Then you get the other people, the second tier, that says, thank you so much. Really, I need to, compliment my wife in my support. I need to, compliment my team for my successes. I need to compliment my customers. I really just, there's someone else that is not getting the credit necessarily, but getting the recognition of it. And that comes down to being humble. Now, modest is deceitful. It's something we thought is humble, but being modest gives praise and recognition to no one. Okay? I'm fit. Obviously, I worked for it. I worked hard for it. So surely there's recognition to be given, either from my self-endurance or from, my trainer, from my friends that pushed me, or from whatever reason. But now I'm being modest, so I'm deceitful. So people compliment me and say, yes, Deon, you know what? You really did that triathlon very good. And I said, no, I didn't. And in my back mind, I say to myself, I'm being humble because I'm just referring this away. But the reality is you're not being humble. You're stealing the opportunity away for giving praise or recognition to the hard work and effort that went in there. So you're automatically blocking your confidence in giving recognition to nothing. So we need to understand there is actually a very big difference that really contributes to confidence so much when it comes to being humble and modest. Modest is a deceitful place that you want to be. Society teaches us that. Just say, no, thank you, I'm not good, the other person was better. Okay? Don't be arrogant. Don't be modest. Be humble. Take advice, take appraisal, take recognition, and give credit where it's due. Because giving credit where it's due, put yourself in the place where you are actually being confident in what you've gained out of this without, uplifting or praising yourself. So that is something that you really need, to consider, really need to understand that arrogance, humble, and modest obviously are two different or three different things, but the opposite of arrogance is not modesty. The opposite of arrogance is humility or being humble. And the danger zone of being humble is fooling yourself with being modest, because that gives credit to nothing, and confidence goes and dies in that spot. The last point on the slide is you need to know your SMART goals for short and long term. Now, I made a video about it the other day, and this is one of the most easiest accessible models in terms of emotional intelligence, in terms of leadership development, in terms of employment, company structuring, anything. The SMART model is something that's really easy accessible, and you can just go and Google it if you don't know what that is. But that is seriously one of the easiest things that we sometimes forget has a massive impact on being confident. A massive, massive, massive impact. You need to know your SMART goals. And the difference is with SMART goals, you need to know it in the short term and in the longer term. We are so often using SMART goals on a specific goal that is maybe for now, and that's fine, but what is for the next? Or we make SMART goals in careers and things, and just, the goal is where I want to end up, but what for the shorter term? Confidence is something, if you take all of these points in consideration, it's owning up to your natural potential, and your natural potential will reveal itself as you go along. You would really see things that you never knew that you were good at. And honestly speaking, you will get to things that you honestly never knew you were bad at. And if you owned up to that, it is really something that will show you where and how you need to adapt your SMART goals in the short term and in the long term. Okay. So on that note, you need to evaluate the short term and the long term. What exactly is my short term? What is the long term? And what are the components of a short term and in a long term? Because if I use my SMART goals, surely I need to know exactly where I need to implement them and what it is. So the first thing in implementing or knowing your short and long term goals, first of all, you need to know what you work with and why. We are in a position that we don't always ask why we do things. And I'm not talking about questioning on the methods or questioning everything. I mean, it's good to do self-reflection, but self-reflection at the end of the day should also turn into practicality. You should get to the point where you at least know what and why are you doing things. So first of all, you need to know what you work with and why you work with that. You need to know what you work towards and also why. Once again, listing the pros and cons and understanding I'm doing this and the why because this and this and this. I'm working towards that. Why? Because simply of this and this and this. Now, if you know what you are working, and work in the sense of not working only in work, working in life, working in your physical activities, working in your finances, working in your marriage, working in your relationships, working, doesn't matter what area of work it is, you need to know what you're working with and why, what's all the elements I have, what's my to-do list, what's expected of me and why I do that. And then you need to know what you're working towards and why in terms of that. And so why is it important to set up those different key elements of the why and the what? Very important, because if you really map it out, and I'm not talking about planning it to the T and then, at the end of the day, just disappointing yourself and setting goals and targets that you won't reach. Once again, if you learn what your SMART goals are, the first one, the S in SMART goals, is specific. So it's not general, it's goals that it's reachable, it's obtainable, it's time consuming, it's time limited. Okay, so really go and understand exactly what your SMART goals are and what they reflect and what each element consists of and comprises of. Because then only you can truly, distinguish what you work with and why you work with that, and then what you're working towards and why. And once you map that out, something that will really be revealed to you are the following. Okay. The following is you will see that there are missing elements in what you work with and why, and what you're working towards and why. If you map this out, you will get to a point where you see, oh my goodness, if this is my specific SMART goal that I'm working towards, and if I'm specific about this, and this is my SMART goal, and I know what I need to obtain and why I need to obtain it, it's a confidence booster. But now I'm going to get to the point where I realize, oh my goodness, I need to partner with more elements to gain that. Now, elements can mean anything. It can mean you need to own up to your new confidence. It would mean that you would maybe design a new list of weaknesses and strengths. It would mean that, back to the previous points, that maybe there are elements that I need to upskill or lose. It will mean anything. It will mean maybe there are areas in my work and in my life and in my finances that I'm working for, and I know now why, and I'm working towards, and I know now why, that I maybe need to humble myself a bit more. Or maybe in certain areas I'm being too modest, and who's it helping? It's not helping me. It's not helping my coworkers. It's not helping my children. It's not helping my relationship. Who's it, who's getting recognition for this? And then in that space, you will definitely find that there are missing elements in the sense of, as I said, training, skills, things I need to let go of, missing elements in the sense of, or even, I want to add to this, even unnecessary elements, things that's just really dragging you out, dragging you down, things that really are taking up your time, but it's not part of your SMART goals. So, it's not something specific, measurable, or anything like that. So at the end of the day, too many elements, going back to my confidence point, I need to let go of them. But the biggest thing that it will reveal to you in elements are people. It will show you strategically how you need to partner with other or more or different people. Now, different people in the sense of, you'll be surprised if you start working with your confidence and you really start planning it in every single division, that they will be revealed to you that there are certain people in your personal work, or doesn't matter which element of your life, that really gets feedback but shouldn't. That really is just there to break me down. And that is an element that I need to lose or gain or change or approach differently, or take their feedback, but not take it too hard. Just take it as it is because I'm a good listener, or however that looks like. So it is important to know that filling in or partnering with the missing elements are something that will be revealed to you, and is so important for confidence. Confidence is knowing what you need as well, and knowing how to fill them, knowing what the shortfall is, so that it can boost your confidence. Now, partnering with people can be very tricky if we do not strategically look at them emotionally. And I'm not talking about their emotions. I'm talking about a very well-known phrase that I'll have a workshop on that once as well, is called EQ, or emotional intelligence. Knowing the emotional intelligence of people, and there are very easy to use models on how you do that. And we're going to look at some of the emotional intelligence attributes now. But knowing them emotionally puts you in a space on deciding, where do you want to place this person strategically, in what area or field, in the what and in the why. What is missing? What people do I need to link at this, and why? Because sometimes certain strengths, even negative or positive, are good for certain things in my life. For example, there are certain fields in my life that I need someone more strictly, not someone that just, is going to compliment me on everything. I think the most common thing we can all agree on is, if you look at physical well-being, coaching, training, or anything like that, a coach can be supportive, but at the end of end of the day, the coach is still someone that needs to push you through things. So he needs to be a bit harder on you than someone else will be. Finances tend to be a bit more stricter than just someone saying, "Hey, how would you like to do it?" when it's clearly a specific structure. But then there are certain elements where you don't need that harshness in your life, and that maybe you take the same advice from the same people in all areas of your life. Because are we not all guilty about that? I mean, we let people speak into our lives on all the areas and facets of our lives. Because I trust this person, and because I've got a good relationship with them, they are smart, they are knowledgeable, they are well educated, or they've never spoken a lie. Now, all of a sudden, I take this person to speak into my life on my finances, my marriage, my business, various components. I mean, there are so many emotional, intelligent, and leadership styles that one can think of that it's impossible for someone to have it all. And because it's impossible for someone to have it all, it's impossible for someone to speak into my life on everything. So if we find ourselves in that position and we allow one person with one specific leadership style to speak in and contribute and be the missing element with everything, what happens naturally is it boosts confidence in one area of my life tremendously, while breaking down confidence in another area of my life tremendously. And at the end of the day, I'm back to the normal balance of being super happy in one element, super confident in one element, and super sad, depressed, or just feel that I'm not a good enough person in the other field. So strategically, we need to partner with the missing elements. And that's getting to know them. So let's have a look at a couple of various leadership styles. So the first leadership style we get something called coercive. Now, if you, as I read this, you can look at the screen, but if you can close your eyes. And as I read these traits, I'm pretty sure each and every single leadership element here, you would be able to link to someone that you know. Whether it's a coworker, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a child, whether it's, a teacher, a mentor, a pastor, a preacher, doesn't matter how you see this, you will definitely be able to link each and every single one here to someone that you know. And then I want you to think about that person and think about, number one, do they have input, feedback, or are they part of the missing elements that I maybe need in certain divisions of my life? And if they are currently in, do I allow them to freely speak and I take every advice as a task to do in all the assets of my life? And thinking about it, why? Because certain leadership styles, as I just mentioned, are for certain areas, and you need to be the judge of that. So the first thing we get is coercive. Now, coercive, usually, and if you want, you can close your eyes and think about and imagine this person. They demand that people comply. They drive to achieve self-control. And usually their key phrases in the sense of how they give tasks or hand out tasks or how they talk to you or however, their key phrases or attitude, if you want to put it like that, is do what I do. Now, this in general, in leadership terms, we see as a negative impact. Now, it's very important to remember, even though this is negative, and we're going to look at some positives and negatives now, it doesn't mean that there's no space for that person in my life. It means strategically, I need to understand what assets, facets, and phases in my life needs or are missing this person. And in the same time, I need to understand which areas of my life has this person, but clearly do not need them. Okay, that is really a self-reflection when it comes to this. To give you an example, some people thrive on having a boss demanding them what to do. Because a lot of people thrive in the sense of knowing work is something I can switch off. I'm not self-disciplined. I'm lacking confidence in how to do the things. And so I need someone to tell me the whole time, this is what you do what I do, this is what you do. It stresses me out of work, but at the end of the day, I know I did exactly how they wanted to. I can switch off at the end of the day and it's all on them. Okay? You be the boss of that. So coercive is really a bossy attitude. Then you get authoritative. Authoritative, once again, if you can imagine a person, leads with a clear vision. Self-confidence is something that they have, and they're usually very empathetic. Their key phrase is come with me. Their attitude is come with me. Okay, so it's really a partnering in that. That is an authoritative attribute or leadership style. And we see this actually in modern days as the most positive impact. Now, once again, there are really areas in your life that authoritative will never be a negative impact on, but might not be the best impact on. So this is really something, once again, that you need to establish for yourself. What areas, when you listed your original 7 or 8 points on confidence, and when you start working with your SMART goals and thinking about, the missing links, what areas is overstacked with authoritative people and what areas needs them? Moving on, you get affiliative. These are the people, they usually create harmony, they build bonds. They're usually good communications and relationship builders. And their key phrase is people come first. Okay? They are 99% of the time also a positive impact. Okay, that's affiliative. Creates harmonies and builds bonds, good communication builders, key phrase, people come first, positive impact. Now, we've mentioned 3 so far. We're going to mention a couple more, not too lot, but immediately while I'm reading this, I can immediately on every single trait, think about just something, some people in our company think that's that person's leadership style. It's not necessarily meaning they are a bad person or a good person. It doesn't necessarily mean you are good at something or bad at something. It's your leadership style. And if you know someone's leadership style, you can really place them into the best need and perspective of what's the use. Because if I have a task and I know this task, even if just in work, needs someone coercive or affiliative, I would know to look at someone with that leadership attribute. Then we've got democratic. Consensus through participation. Always focuses on collaboration, team spirit. And the key phrases are usually, what do you think? Now, democratic is good. Okay, I like democratic. This is my personal opinion. However, democratic is for me the most positive impact that can easily be very dangerous. Because of the key phrase and key attitude being, what do you think? Usually, people can use democratic as a safe zone when trying to please others. That gains nothing, okay? So democratic for me is something that strategically needs to be placed very well, because you don't want someone that just the whole time, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Because at the end of the day, are they doing it truly to get your perspective or input on it? Then great. Or are they just too scared to own up or act up on what truly is the right thing to do? So democratic is great in friendship. However, it's not always that perfect in management in terms of teams. To an extent, yes, but to an extent in management, someone needs to be clear of the target that needs to be there and needs to drive through that. That's just my opinion on it. It's not something, it's something that I welcome you to disagree or agree with, because disagreeing and agreeing with these things are exactly, the type of thing that reveals your leadership style and your emotional intelligence as well. And as I said, some of it are something that you are born naturally with. Some of it are areas that you are developed to be in. Some of them might be, you might know people, and maybe you yourself one of them that owns 2 or 3 of these leadership potentials, a mix of them. And you do get that as well. It's not like someone has only one or two, but because some of these things are very contradictory with one another, it's very rare and almost 0% that you get someone with all of them. They might have elements of the other, but they will mainly be one, maximum a combination of two of them. Pace setting. Pace setting. This is someone that sets high performance standards. They drive to achieve. Key phrase, do as I do as well. And it's usually a negative impact, okay? Pace setting is what we see in most of the financial industries, Wall Street, and we see how people develop stress from the youngest age of, just horrible stress, because pace setting usually is something that kind of takes confidence and it swings it 100% on arrogance. You drop, there's no place for humility, not even always modesty in a pace setting way. It really is something that, because it's just performance driven the whole time. Coaching people in a leadership style is usually people developing skills in other people and also developing others to come to the point to get self-awareness. So automatically we're sitting here and we think, okay, Deon, so, you in the coaching, because this is a coaching seminar. No, we need to understand that, going into a coaching position or training position or work position doesn't define you to a certain leadership style. At the end of the day, this now, yes, is a hobby and is fun for me. And to an extent, I am a coaching person. But this is what's required in this moment, is for me to talk about this, to develop the skills, so it's more of, even though it's not a work, but it's more of a objective that I need to do today, because I scheduled it and I need to do it. So we also need to remember that a leadership style is more of a characteristic. It's not something always that we can link to people only in a specific field, especially in work, because people in work, due to what they need to do, usually can come forward as a different leadership style. It's really reading between the lines. It's reading into their character to truly reveal or see their leadership styles. And that's something that's really important to remember as well. Okay, what I have now, what I need to have then. So those are the leadership styles that we have. Now, going back to the previous point, when you talk about the now and the what I have and why I have it, the what I need and why I need it, it's really important to set up that path after I've filled in the missing elements, to know what my confidence booster will be, and to know in which areas I either need to upskill or let go, or just, put it aside or focus more on this, depending on which element in my life. But it's very important to know that I need to come to the realization on what I have now and what I need to have then. Okay? Because it's important to know, and this is the scary reality. It's important to know along your journey with any short to long-term vision, you will have certain things now and you will lose them on the way. You will have certain things now and you will keep them on the way. And you will have certain things now, or certain things you will lack that you will gain on the way and then have it. But one thing is certain, I need to know what I have now and what my value is with that, what boosts my confidence, and for what reason. Is it a momentary thing? Is it a very important thing that makes my confidence sustainable? And then I need to know what I need to have then. What's the elements that I need to keep and make sure in my life and in all facets of my life? What do I need to keep? What do I need to let go of? And what do I need to gain? So I need to understand what I have now in my life, work-wise, financial-wise, everything-wise. What's the motivation, the what I have and the why I have it? Then put in the missing links. Then go through the whole confidence structure again on thinking, why do I have this? Why don't I have this? Is it making me a better person? Am I in the spot or space in this specific thing that I can be humble? without being arrogant nor being modest? Is there recognition or space for recognition for something or someone in that? Am I upskilling something, or do I need to let it go of? Am I comfortable with this weakness, knowing that it's going to be a weakness, or is this weakness dragging me? Am I happy with this strength, but the strength can lead to arrogance, or is it really a strength that's costing me? Costing me in the sense of financially, family, work-wise, because strength might mean you are brilliant in your work and you have a work at Wall Street, but at what cost? Okay, at the end of the day, at what cost? You're gonna get to a point where it's just gonna drag your confidence down and make you arrogant in one asset of your life, and really just drag you down in the other facet or asset in your life or phase in your life. So it's really, really important to reflect on what I have now and really take what I have, restruct or decompose it, and think of each and every element. Why I have it? What's it meaning for my confidence? Am I willing to lose it? Am I keeping it? But at what cost? What's it for? Where does my confidence fit in there? And then at the end of the day, what do I have to need to have then in the long term? And also at what cost? And then get to the peace of mind out knowing that there will be uncertain and unsure times, things that I need to lose or want to lose or may not want to lose, things that I can work towards but maybe fail in, things that's uncertain, unknown. But you need to come to the peace of mind knowing that it is fine. You will be fine because your confidence is fine. Confidence really is something so important to just push you through anything as a human being, to know exactly that if I lose this in my life, will I be fine? Yes, I will be, because of this and this and this reason. Now, being fine and being confident does not mean it's going to be easy. And it doesn't mean it's going to reveal the unknown and make it known ever. And that is truly something in all areas of your life that you need to understand. So, what I have now and what I need to have then. Very important. Your goals of what you need to achieve in the short and long term should never be contradictory with your confidence or your values. Why? Because you are working towards either the wrong goal or you are doing it for the wrong reasons. It really is such an easy, yet we forget it, statement to say. Your goal should never be contradictory with your confidence or values. That, for me, is key when it comes to sustainable confidence. Sometimes you will set a goal and it really will be contradictory of how you gain or lose or keep your confidence. It maybe is something that momentarily you need to be modest with, or arrogant with, or momentarily means that you need to just drop weaknesses or just, you know, um, get more straight, whatever on those 7 points that you need to change or whatever to achieve that goal means that it's contradictory with your confidence. And then the other important is you understand your values. And this is something that might be your personal values, might be your family values, might be values that you inherited from your family growing up. We always refer to, when I grew up, we did things this way. It might be values in your company, in your team, in, it doesn't matter what your values are. Your goals should never be contradictory with your values. It's not worth it. It's not worth it to gamble with that space and think that happiness just overnight comes from, maybe bending the rule here and there. Practice what you preach. Your work life and personal life should always carry the same values. Now, in a modern age that is, I don't know about you guys, but I'm often, not often, but there were moments that you really, you you play on the train with that. You really take a chance, because at the end of the day, you think, I've got a family that I need to support, I've got bills that I need to pay, I'll do whatever it takes to get that in. Or work for me is something separately. I go to work, I do my work, and I hate my work, but it's paying the bills, and maybe at works there's something unethical going on and I contribute to it, but I'm just part of the system, and it doesn't carry the same values as my personal life. Now, yes, that is something that you need to be the judge of, but as a fact, it will rob your confidence. It is so important to it. When we discuss and go through the slides, we get to points where we kind of wander from confidence, but it's very important to remember we're talking about two things here today. We're talking about sustainable confidence and productivity. And we're talking about how sustainable confidence really impacts productivity, and how productivity really feeds it's really a circle, feeds sustainable confidence yet again. Now, if your work life and your personal life are ever in the danger zone of not carrying the same values, you will lack areas of confidence. And if you're happy with that, that's up to you. As I said in the beginning of this task and beginning of this, that, I can't tell people, because, you don't know what financial situation, what people need to do for money or need to do or want to, you don't know that. You don't know what thrives people. I don't know each and every one of you personally. I mean, this is truly decisions that you need to make for yourself. But there's a huge difference in doing something, and I'm not talking, yes, to an extent, doing what you love, or people always say that, but we also know that, it's not like you apply to a job you love and you're guaranteed to even get the interview, never mind the job, or you even qualified for that, or it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's just a very important key to remember that your work life and personal life should always carry the same values. Okay. Confidence should be built on something, meaning a value, that's sustainable. Okay? Do not put your confidence as a gamble. I'm not saying don't take risks, and I'm not saying gamble in certain areas. Of course you need to. But remember, you mapped it out. The risks involved. Your goals are specific. You've set your SMART goals, so you know which areas of your goals and career and your life will be a risk, will be a gamble. But remember, you already have that mindset that if something goes wrong, remember my point that I mentioned early on, you'll be fine with it. It's the unknown. So it is sure that you will take risks. Don't play it safe. That's not what I'm saying. But build your confidence. Link it to something sustainable, meaning if you lack confidence in something, make sure that if you pay all your attention to build that confidence in that area, that area is something sustainable. Because why? Otherwise, you didn't need to upskill it. You just needed to lose it. So confidence should be built on something, a value that's sustainable. Now, this something can be someone in a very sense that this someone is someone that will, last a lifetime in your life. This is usually family members, best friends, and things like that. But in general, the rule of thumb is the following. Don't build your confidence on someone or something that can change or fluctuate. Okay? Do not let others rob you from that confidence. Do not let the society tell you as a baby that you need to be unsure of your cry because, your voice sounds horrible. Or you need to be, be shy about your umbilical cord because, you're the only one that was born with one. At the end of the day, do not link your confidence on someone or something that can change or fluctuate. Yes, fluctuation and change can boost confidence. It's risks. It's the inevitable. It's something that it's the unsure and unknown that we were speaking about, and there's nothing wrong with it. But do not build your foundation of who and what defines your confidence, making you enjoy life, making you enjoy work, making you enjoy family, on something that can change overnight and rob you completely of that confidence. The keys to sustainable confidence, and here we go. Number one, tap into the confidence you were born with. Okay? We mentioned that you were born with a confidence, and tap into that. Know who you are, what you are made in, what image you are, what exactly know who you are, and bringing us to point number two, know your strengths and weaknesses. It's fine to have weaknesses. It's fine to have strengths. It's fine to place yourself knowing what they are, choosing what to upskill and what to lose and what to just carry. As I mentioned, for some of you that's late here today, go listen to what I mentioned on what upskill is. Upskill is not necessarily making a weakness a strength. It's just getting to the mindset of it's okay to have this weakness. So emotionally, you upskilled that weakness into an emotional strength, knowing that I'm good with this being a weakness. Expect success. If you take on something, there's nothing wrong. You're not demanding it. You're expecting success, meaning I know if I'm confident enough to take this on, I know the weaknesses, strengths, and risks involved. I know where the credit is going. I know where the recognition is going. I know what's, requested and asked from me. I know what my SMART goals are. I know what I need to get from there. I filled in the missing elements from my side. I've done everything. So I need to expect it to work, expect success. Now, very important thing. Success needs to be broken down into what was the success, because you will do things in your life that maybe didn't turn out on the goal you wanted, but there surely is successes to take from it. Whether it is an upskill, whether it is knowing that, oh my goodness, this was a weakness that I didn't know. It's still a success gaining that knowledge. So very important that although you should expect success, do not clarify or classify the success being strictly what you set it out to be in the beginning. Yes, expect what you go for to turn out as it is, but if it didn't, break it down to see what's the successes I can take from this, what's the lessons I can learn from this, and how can this contribute to sustainable confidence, knowing I've got new strengths, new successes, new elements in my life, a different financial proportion, whether actually, it sounds weird, but whether better off or worse off. But worse off in the sense of, what did I gain? Maybe, I took a risk here and there and I built a new network connection, or I at least managed to financially restructure this in my life, or gain the knowledge to have this policies, or drop those, however you see that. Trust your capabilities. You need to trust if you are good at something. You need to trust that you are good in it. You need to trust what you're capable of doing. Not go there and say, oh my goodness, I don't know if I'm capable of doing this, I guess, but I don't know if I'm good at it. Trust your capabilities. Be confident in your capabilities. Then embrace the unknown. Don't fear it. I'm not saying that you should do stupid things. I'm not saying you gamble with the unknown. Embrace it, because it is inevitable in every single area of your life. There's the unknown. You don't know what tomorrow is going to look like for anything. Embrace it. Okay? Make it your own. Take risks. Just be accountable. There's nothing wrong with taking risks. There's nothing wrong with saying, ooh, this is a bit different than I'm trained to do, or, that usually how I do things, I need to risk this because, the risk is needed to maybe have a jump in my SMART goal. That's fine. Take risks. But don't stop there. Be accountable for the risks that you take. Meaning, give recognition once again where it's due. If it failed, own up to it. Know why it failed. Don't blame yourself, but, be proud and say, you know what, I took the risk. I know what this cost is involved. I was involved in this. We see this, especially with financial restructuring. We see so many companies out there taking risks, and when the hits the fan, people stand back and they point fingers and they restructure, and they let everyone else take a knock. The investors take a knock, the shareholders, stakeholders, everyone takes a knock, but they, I just don't want to be accountable. It's a risk we took. They stop there. It's a risk we took. I've got so much respect for companies, especially like, for example, one of the biggest companies with a CEO that always lives by this is Richard Branson. Richard Branson takes risks, but he takes the company risk and he's accountable for it, because he steers the company. He says, I don't know if you guys are familiar with how many fails Virgin has. And if you look at every single fail, you will find them with their management team owning up and said, we know this is a risk we took. We know what was involved in the risk, or maybe didn't know this, but we owned up to it. We took accountability. So take risks, but be accountable. Because if you're accountable for something, it means that you are confident in knowing what you are capable, or now in a new space not capable of doing. Learn to receive praise. We are very always in the modest solution. We cannot, society teaches us, do not get praise for what you're doing. Learn to receive it. It boosts your confidence. Because if you're accountable, it means that you will be getting bad feedback as well. Own it. But if you've received praise, own it. Okay? It is really something that you can own up to. Practice confidence. We're going to go through a couple of things on the practicality on how to practice confidence, but truly confidence, although you were born with it, and although it's a characteristic, it's still a characteristic that needs to be sustainable, upskilled, and developed. So what also means it is also a skill that you have, and any skill can be practiced, so practice it. How does this generally look like in my life, my work, and my play? Okay. The balance between life, work, and play. A healthy balance is something that really affects your confidence, and it looks as follows. Know your switches. Without switching off, it will stress you out. I'm pretty sure, I'm going to ask this rhetorically, but how many people have gone on holiday, switched off everything, to only sit a couple of days and hours at night thinking, oh my goodness, is this being done? Do I need to stress about it? Going back to work, and then everything just piled up on the desk, or my inbox is full, or, whatever. If you completely switch off, it stresses you out. However, know your switches. Know how to prioritize. Know what's important to do and important what not to do. If you're on holiday, it's important to have a holiday. Work emails are not important. Okay, so if you know where the switches are, know where you can spend time with what, you surely would know how to prioritize. Okay, do not let it stress you out. If it's stressing you out, it means you completely just switch it off and blocked it off. And I've got a well-deserved holiday. And yes, maybe you do, but you just with a mindset and attitude that I'm on holiday, I want nothing to do with work. However, if you know how the switches work in moving from work to holiday, work to life, then at least you know how to prioritize. Knowing how to work with your teams and colleagues, informing them of your holiday plans, informing them of your life plans, informing them of your successes, your risks you were going to take. Involve people. Because then it means you just don't need to cut the switch and leave everyone in the dark. You can just, know where the switches are and manage it. That means that you need to find a healthy balance, not just a timely or focused balance. Now, that sounds confusing, and it's also not specific. A healthy balance is what you set it out to be. Some people find it healthy to do some work at home. Some find it healthy to include your family in your work, or vice versa. Doesn't matter how you see that. You need to find a healthy balance. A lot of people do a timely or focused balance. And a timely or focused balance really can stress you out, because how does that look like? It means like 8 to 5, my concentration is here. Or this is my priority. So this is my focus point, and everything is here. And I switch everything else around and out of that completely off. It stresses us out, because there's only so many hours in a day that you can truly do things. And if you get to a point where you didn't succeed, you think to yourself as a failure and not a confidence. Have a healthy balance. Now, a healthy balance may include a timely or focused balance. There's nothing wrong with it, but healthy in the sense of think about how to limit the stress away. A balance should not be timely if it stresses you out. It should not be focused if it stresses you out. Healthy means there's no or very low stress, and that's how you control things. And that ultimately feeds your productivity and feeds your confidence in so much possible. You need to find the healthy one. And once again, weighing that out, see where your family fits in it. See where your friends, work, your finances, see how everything fits in that healthy balance. Because healthy means everything gets done to the extent where it doesn't stress you out. Okay. Healthy balance, not just timely or focused. A lot of people say, I want to see your calendar, exactly what hours you're busy with, and you do it like that because they asked for it. It's fine if that's also how you do it, if you see that's healthy. But at the end of the day, stick to what is healthy, the healthy balance, because that is what's going to do confidence for you. And if you've got confidence, that is what's going to be productive for you. And other people don't understand your balance, and they think automatically what's productive or working for them should be for you. Now, you need to really take in consideration on that point a couple of things. You need to take into consideration that there are certain tasks that are timely limit. There are certain things that, a job needs to get done, as they say. So I'm not saying go all free spirit and hippie on this. All I'm saying is you need to find a healthy balance between work, life, and play, because the healthy balance between work, life, and play is what boosts, promotes confidence, and boosts and promotes productivity. Learn how to improve and practice your confidence. Confidence is a cornerstone of good leadership, especially in times of uncertainty, upheaval, or crisis. Believing in yourself and making the right decisions will give you credibility and integrity, which in turn will enhance the organization's, that's if this is from a work point of view, reputation. Organization in this sense can also be your family, your private life, or your play life. Enhance the organization, so see it as you want, reputation, and build trust in your life stakeholders. Now, it's very important. Stakeholders is a term usually, given to people investing money into a company. However, that's not true. A stakeholder is someone that has some value in your life, some input, some financial input, some say, some, doesn't matter what. People that's a part of your life is a stakeholder in your life. So if it's your life apart from work or your life in work, for example, in work, you guys are stakeholders in my life, in my work life. I don't know any one of you on a personal level, so it's safe for me to say in my life, beyond work, I don't see you guys as stakeholders. Surely, hopefully, yes, but you get what I'm saying. So it's very important to understand that your life's got stakeholders. So let's read this again. Just take it in. Confidence is a cornerstone of good leadership. Okay? Without confidence, there can be no good leadership. And I'm not talking about leadership, leading a team. And you can be a leader. All of you guys are leaders in maybe some or maybe more areas of your life. You're a leader in your household. You're a leader of your own finances. You're a leader of your decision. You're a leader of what you do today. You were a leader deciding, are you coming to this? Okay. So you need to understand that leadership is not only for people in a leading position, that leadership truly is something that we are all a part of. And stakeholders truly refers to everyone having a stake in my life, whether work, play, life beyond that, doesn't matter where, that's a stakeholder. So confidence is a cornerstone of good leadership, especially in times of uncertainty, upheaval, or crisis. Believing in yourself and making the right decisions will give you credibility and integrity. It's so important to believe in yourself, to be confident in yourself. It will give you credibility and integrity for what you are busy doing. Doesn't mean it's going to work. Once again, we said earlier on, be accountable for that. Take the risks, which in turn will enhance, I wouldn't say not the organization, your life's reputation, and build trust in your life's stakeholders. So be prepared. Being prepared. Confidence will come in a number of different ways. I'm pretty sure by this time we've established that confidence will come in different areas, different ways, and it will look differently depending on where I implement it or use it. So confidence will come in a number of different ways. It comes from experience as your track record for your own accounts improve. Okay? That's it. Experience will really give you the track record of your confidence. And it doesn't say success. It doesn't say it comes from success as your track record for your own accounts, improve or succeeds. It says confidence will come to in a number of different ways. It comes from experience as your track record for your own accounts improve. It comes from having well-formed plans and anticipating challenges because they will happen. And it comes from the knowledge that you have a strong business or operation or life model on productive working relationship. The relationship needs to be productive and working in the sense of it needs to be willing to improve or also be in the space of self-reflection, feedback, or motivation. You need to be able to communicate with confidence. Use confident language. In business, we use language like innovative, first of its kind, breakthrough, or whatever. Make sure that in your life as well, you use confident languages. Appraise. Learn how to use confident language even in your finances, even if it looks horrible. Confident languages in horrible situation might seem like using words as, this can improve, or this doesn't look great, but surely we can change this or switch this around, or maybe I need to focus here on this more. There needs to be elements in the areas that you want to reign with confidence that you use confident language in. Deliver your vision. Let the stakeholders in your life be aware of the vision, what you're working towards, what your goals are, because you will need them to speak into your lives. You will need them to appraise you. You will need them to take authority, depending on their leadership style, on where you've given them that authority. And you would need them to blow wind in your sails to take you there. So deliver your vision to your stakeholders in the area. Be clear on your vision. Consider giving new visions or ideas a niche look of its own. For example, if I've got a better or newer vision because my old one either is not the best or it failed, be clear to deliver something niche about that or unique about that so people see, oh my goodness, it's not an add-on, or this guy is not a jack of all trades or a Joe of all trades or just a fly-by-night. It's a clearer new vision. In business, to give you an example, what we do is if we've got a new vision, we usually brand it as a product of its own or division of its own with its own logo, its own campaign. The media does it so well, a new campaign, a fresh campaign, so that people clearly know this is separate from the previous vision that either was not the best, didn't succeed, or you just wanted to improve on that. It doesn't matter. So consider always giving new visions or ideas a niche look or a characteristic of its own. Acknowledge ideas. When people give you ideas, acknowledge them in all areas of your life. It doesn't say take it. It doesn't say take the idea. It just says acknowledge them. Truly listen to ideas, because you'll be surprised how people in the area of their successes and failures can truly complement yours. And the biggest mistake we do is when we acknowledge ideas, we think that what applied and worked or did not work for other people will apply or work or not work for me. We think if someone failed in this, surely I'm going to fail in this. So now all of a sudden, if I've got this idea, I've got a horrible idea. No, acknowledge it. Take it in, linger on it. See what's applicable, see what you can learn from it. See what you can give praise to it. See where it can boost your confidence. Just communicate with confidence and be consistent. Be consistent. If you take something from this person, know what you really took and what you're going to take from others. If you give appraisal to other people because you're communicating with confidence, communicate the same to others. Be consistent on how, when, and how, once again, you use your confidence. It is something, if it needs to be sustainable, it needs to be consistent. So how can we be consistent in our values, our goals, and in our targets? Being consistent. As your life's own leader, your every word and action is scrutinized by team members, family members, co-workers, peers and friends, colleagues, and could be given far more significance than you intended. Perceptions of you as a confident leader, once again, lead in your own space, lead in your own life, can be undermined by conscious, or get this, unconscious slips. So try and think in a measured way about the kind of signals you are sending out. Consistency and calmness in adversity are the characteristics that most people will perceive as confidence. How you see confidence is not necessarily how other people see it. Okay? People pick up confidence from your characteristics, from who you are, from how consistent you are. Remember, I said a couple of minutes ago, I see we're really pushing for time here. I do apologize for that. But remember, we said a couple of minutes ago that, we cannot define someone's leadership style only in a certain area. We really need to look at their characteristics, because sometimes they're just busy with a work obligation or an area obligation that they need to do that requires from them certain things that we might misperceive. This is exactly that. Your character shows who you are. So if you're consistent, consistency and calmness in adversity are the characteristics that most people will perceive as confidence. People see that as confidence. So you need to be very wary of the things you do, whether willing, unwilling, whether conscious or unconscious, conscious in the sense of not asleep and awake, in the sense of you purposely doing it, or maybe it's just slipping. But you need to understand that people take that and they scrutinize and they evaluate and they base your consistency and your characteristic and your confidence and your leadership style. They base that on that. So just please take that to heart. First tip I want to give you: boost yourself. Regularly affirm your own strengths. This morning, my sister-in-law actually sent me a video of this young kid walking to school. Maybe you've seen it. It was on Instagram. This kid is walking to school, and as he was walking to school, he's just giving him affirmation and appraisal for his own. He says, "I can do this. I can do today. I'm good. I'm this. I'm this. I'm this," without once thinking that this little kid is arrogant or what. You can just see that natural appraisal and confidence coming through. So if you really want sustainable confidence, boost yourself, affirm yourself on your own strengths, and to an extent acknowledge your weaknesses. Don't boast on your weaknesses, but know what your weaknesses are. And if you need to affirm that, that's fine, as long as you accept it. Tip number 2, face your fears. Confidence comes from self-knowledge. Aim to be self-assured. Confidence is born out of self-knowledge. Who am I? What am I capable of? And am I fine to be this or not to be this? And then if something is unknown or a weakness, it's a fear or there's a risk that he needs to take, face those fears. As confidence comes from self-knowledge, aim to be self-assured. Now, balancing targets. So on that note, we're going to discuss a couple of basic managing people and targets and productivity things. It's really, I think, a couple of more slides, 5 or 10 minutes. This is an in-depth topic. We're not going to dive in depth on that. There's a couple of things I want to mention because I just want to get to the point where you see that confidence really is something that contributes to productivity and productivity back to confidence. So if you guys can just give me 2 seconds. Sorry, I'm just going to mute my microphone, just 2 seconds. And then I already started talking and I forgot that the microphone was on mute. I do apologize. So I want to quickly have a look at balancing targets, something that's really important. Just want to give me 2 seconds. Just want to switch my notes here. Okay. Results are what it's all about. Let's be honest. Productivity, how you manage, how you perceive exactly everything in life, how you measure everything, it all comes back to something that is called results. And results are something that it is all about. They are the synthesis of all your thinking, planning, and enabling as a leader. Okay? If you think about it, if you have a smart, specific goal, your goal is aimed at a result, self-explanatory, and that result really fluctuates how you think. It changes how you think. It adapts your thinking. So it really is important to know that it really is a synthesis of all your thinking, planning, and even enabling as a leader to get what you want from a project. You should clarify standards and objectives from the outset. Your targets need to be realistic. Realistic, the R of the SMART goals, and they also require a means of measuring the performance of all involved. If you have a result and you need to be productive to get that, or a goal and that result influences everything around you, you need a means of measurement to know exactly how to measure various performances, successes, and failings for all involved in that goal. Getting the right results. The targets you set for yourself or your team should stretch everyone. A target should be something new, stretches. It's really it's a target. It's something that you work towards, not float or drive towards or smooth sail or moonwalk towards. You drive towards, you work towards a target. So the targets you set for yourself or your team should stretch everyone, but also be realistic, in line with the SMART criteria. Ensure the aims you set are balanced alongside financial targets. Include goal in areas such as speed of response, product and service quality, customer and team satisfaction, and brand development. Now, remember, this goes hand in hand what I said with finding that healthy balance. Finding the healthy balance, you first of all need to know what is involved, who's involved where, because some people might be emotionally involved in something. And a healthy balance is to truly respect their healthy balance, respect their confidence while respecting my own. So in the workplace, there might be more, but in the workplace, we generally list your desired results in 4 key areas: customers, operations, people, and finances. If you work with any target or goal, before you start, list the areas, list the categories. If you talk about your finances, list all the areas, not items, areas of things that's involved in that. With anything that you do, it's very important to list it. Why is it important to list it? So that no objective takes assumed priority over the other. And that just makes 100% sense. When we list things, usually we start off with a priority list. Okay, there's models that we can use. I have designed a couple of my own models, and then there's very well-known models out there that one can use. But the first thing we do is we don't put it in various categories. We just start with priority, and now all of a sudden, automatically, some things assumes priority over the other. But they're all areas in this operation or in this area of my life, so sub areas in this area of my life, that's literally equal important to gain success for that area. So you need to, I'm going to show you guys an example now, but you need to list your desired results in each of 4 key areas. These 4 keys are for business. In your life, you need to decide what's others. So in business, usually, and also there can be more, customers, operations, people, and finances. Why do we list them? So that no objective takes assumed priority over the other. So that you can prove progress to yourself and your team. That's also why we list it. So you can go to each one and say, you know what? I'm not going to say work was a fail, because if I listed all of these in just one list, prioritize one over the other, I would have to say work is either a fail or success, and I would never know how to limit or prove or track that. But because I've divided them into their own divisions in each area, I know that one doesn't take priority over the other. And now I know I can prove progress on each division. I can say with customers, it's going like this. With operations, it's going like this, and I can prove it. People, with finances, this and this and this. So that if one is still pending or fail or needs change, it doesn't mean that everything needs change. But if in my mindset, with my productivity and confidence, if I just classify this as work, I'd either always see work as a success or as a failure. But now with each division, I can know exactly which division needs more work, more attention, which is working, which is a failure, which needs more attributes, missing links, whatever in that certain space. For example, in the middle here, I said keeping multiple targets in play always. So I've subdivided them into people, operations, finance, and customers, meaning they're always equal important, and I'm keeping all my targets in play at the same time. For example, I've broken it down here with customers. That can be something like staff motivation or team motivation, customer satisfaction, experience. Is the experience enjoyable? Is the customer happy? Loyalty promoted. Will this customer post jobs with us again? Will they be here? Are they long-term with us? What's the loyalty? So now I can go and get everything I need to work when it comes to customer. These are the elements that I listed that I need to work. And once again, we can adapt this model in our own lives. Finances, the areas of profits, investment, sales, cash, people, perception of being a good employee, personal development, mutual respect, interesting work. Is work interesting for the people involved? Do we have mutual respect for one another? Operations, delivery to customer as promised. When I said I'll call the customer, then did I? When I said I'll email them, then did I? Is the operations as promised? Competitive prices, that's something to us that is still important. Is a customer receiving something similar at a better price, and how we can compete with it? Is it an interest of mine to know that these elements truly boosts my productivity? And if my productivity are boosted, I'm confident. I need to be confident in staff motivation. I need to be confident in customer satisfaction, in customer enjoyability, in loyalty promoted. And that combined makes me confident in customers. So with any area of my life, I need to be confident in each and every point while not prioritizing one main thing over the other, so that I can truly build that confidence. How to measure productivity? You need to ask yourself in any work that you do, productivity, any task that you do, anything. How do I measure productivity? First question, and these are all self-reflective terms and questions. Are you a cultural fit? Meaning the company's values and the people that they need, do you fit in there emotionally? Do you agree with the vision? Does it excite you? Do you excite them? Are you a cultural fit? Not only skilled for the job that needs to be done. There's this old thing that's going around and people saying, they want someone they're recruiting people. Let's just think about it. I'm going to paraphrase and use my own words, but they are seeking someone in social media development with 15 years of development skills. And then the people started posting what? So you're looking for people from MySpace to come and work for us. Realistically, modern companies nowadays are recruiting people into the culture, not only the experience, because you can have 40 experience in the banking industry. No VC company would necessarily, get you involved, because banking and VC companies do not think alike. It's not their culture. So your experience only counts for one part, but you've been so adapted to previous culture that maybe you don't belong here. And this truly brings to your own productivity and truly brings to your own confidence. You need to ask yourself, are you a cultural fit? According to you, is there enough training and development to get where you need to be? Confidence is knowing where you are, what you have and why, where you need to get and why. So does the company implement enough training and development to take you there? Or is it going to be all on your own? Because if they don't implement or have it, is it something that they will? Questions that you can ask? Because it might not affect your productivity from day one, but surely it will, because you will get to the ceiling point where you didn't anticipate your career to end off with. Unless this job, not this job, but maybe this job is just a stepping stone, then it's fine. And at least you know that that is non-applicable, but it is questions to ask. Is the motivation and rewards enough for me, long and short term? Meaning what they offer, is this something that will keep me going? In the short term, yes or no? No, okay. In the long term, yes. And this is important for my career, different story. No, for now, this isn't important for my career. Why the heck are you here or there? This truly is for any company. And the same with short term. Is the motivation and rewards enough for me, long term and short term? These are elements that affects us in all our productive essence, our entire productivity. And productivity goes hand in hand with confidence. You know, this, if you've seen, so my wife is in the medical industry. She's an occupational therapist, and she works with in the neurological division. So she works a lot with stroke patients and things like that. And we talked about it the other day, and it's so true. And I'm pretty sure most of you guys here can relate to that. As soon as you take an older person, doesn't matter which age, let's older person, and you put them in a space where they cannot be productive or feel that they don't have a purpose anymore. We see this a lot if they go to an old age home and, you know, no one asks them, they've retired, no one asks them to do stuff. They don't have a garden, they can't cook or bake or whatever. They just go really, statistically speaking, like backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards. It's really something negative. You take the same person and you give them purpose or productivity, meaning in the sense, purpose in the sense that they feel productive. They just, you know, maybe not live a longer life, but live a healthier life. We always think people get older. They not necessarily get older, but they live a happier and healthier life. And this is so important to remember when it comes to confidence. Productivity is having a purpose. And if you can't have productivity or, you know, that confidence in productivity, you're just going to rob yourself from your purpose. And you're really going to feel it at the end of the day. That's why confidence is so important to have, to own up to it, to own it as a natural thing that you have, because that really is going to just feed your confidence, or your confidence is going to feed your productivity. Your productivity is going to feed that self-worth and feeling that you belong and feeling that you've got purpose. And purpose is, as a human nature, what drives us. Where do I find myself in the structure? It's really important to place yourself, knowing that there's nothing wrong to be a worker or a leader. There's nothing wrong to be a short-term visionary, because that's what motivates you, or a long-term visionary. In a company, if we all only worked with long-term visionaries, a company will be full of dreamers. Okay? We need each other. We, in the sense of, I don't know if you guys have a worker, a shorter term vision or longer term vision, it doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is every corporate structure, every business structure needs both. And we need to respect and value that we need both. So we need to respect and value. If someone has a shorter or longer vision than mine, we need to value that, because the company, any company, your own project needs that. We need doers. which is in general your shorter term people, because they are rewarded and motivated by now's result and now's reward. And we need visionaries to show us where we're driving towards. In generally, the visionaries don't gain anything from now. And there's various topics that, we can talk about what you gain or not gain. It's not the discussion for today. But it is important to know that, where do I find myself in the structure? Because knowing where you find yourself in the structure, is that something long-term for you or short-term? Is that something that you are happy with or not happy with? And how does my productivity influence that, where I find myself? Does it expose me to negative or better things? Does it boost my environment that I'm working in? Does it give me the right confidence or right recognition or, whatever? But you need to ask yourself, reflect on that. How does my productivity influence where I am at? Because if I'm at a place where my weak productivity is really not going to influence my job security, then it's a danger zone in thinking that at the end of the day, if that is really your place in work, you're going to leave that sense of, you're going to lose the sense of purpose. Whether in 10 years or 5 years or 20 years from now, you're going to get to a point where you feel that no one needs you. And what's my purpose here? And people will forget about you. Productivity will always look different with different people. I'm not saying to just flip and make everything about work. It's not about that. This really can be taken to each division of your life. But you need to understand where you fit into what culture and how does my productivity influence that. For example, if I take my marriage, for example, where do I find myself in the structure? Let's ask that. So I think my wife is the boss of the house. I try to be, but I know she tells me exactly where I need to be. How does my productivity influence that? Let's see. Happy wife, happy life. So my productivity really, influences that very well. But I also know to a certain extent, I'm not going to just paint the house, every second day. So there's certain areas that my productivity also needs to slow down a bit. So that's kind of like on the humor side. But still, this is just to show that this truly is applicable to each area of our life. So you need to reflect on the following. What motivates my productivity? Am I a relational or transactional type of person? Now, this is something confusing, and then we almost at the end here, but there's a business theory and a model out there that talks about a relational transaction, or a relational type of person, or transactional type of person. If you think about it, it comes down to the basics of the following. What motivates you? Facts, things on paper. This is what you need to do. Good days pay for good days work. This is, one balances. It's just like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then you get to a relational point of view where people say, it's to an extent about the job and what's in paper. Yes, that's fine. But talks around the office, relationship building with other people, it's just above it. It's more on the emotional side. And it's very important to understand what motivates you and what your structure is offering, especially that phase as well, because that should give you an indication on what level of satisfaction you will be able to expect or gain from here. So relational contracts and transactional contracts are usually exactly opposite of one another. In this graph, it's shown as up and down, but it's not up and down. One is just usually left or right. It's just showing its opposite direction. So relational contracts or social exchange is usually indefinite. It's wide-ranging. It's subjective. It's unwritten. Loyalty and concern for employee well-being. That's what it's all about. Transactional contracts or economic exchange is short-term, narrow, observable, written. It's facts, it's a contract, it's on paper, a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. Incentive pay and specified performance. So this is the target, this is what it needs to be do, this. It's your spreadsheet of transactional agreements. That's what it is. It's a spreadsheet. It's this by this has an effect on this, and relational. Now, this is once again a topic on its own, but it really is something that connects well of knowing how it's going to influence your productivity, because knowing who you are and knowing what your area or your company or the division in your life offers will tell you what level of satisfaction to expect. And knowing what level of satisfaction to expect will complement your confidence in there. Because if you know you're not going to reach a certain level and you're happy with that, it shouldn't influence your confidence. But if you know this is going to affect other areas in your life and affect your smart specific goals or results that you're working towards, then you know it's going to result in a lack of confidence in that area. The fear that we need to overcome, the biggest obstacles in productivity, in any teamwork, in any life, in any division, is the absence of trust, the fear of conflict. We are very, very, very afraid to disagree with people. I've seen it in a lot of companies, especially with team meetings. People are afraid to say no to this or what. They are fear of having conflict. I'm not saying to attack someone personally. I mean, a bad idea doesn't make it a bad person. The same with a good idea doesn't make it a good person. I'm pretty sure Hitler sometimes drank his coffee black, which is a good idea. That definitely didn't make him a good person. Conflict is fine as long as it can be resolved. So don't have a fear of conflict. So absence of trust, fear of conflict, lack of commitment, avoidance of accountability, okay, not taking ownership, exactly what we mentioned earlier, and inattention to results, not paying attention to the details, to the smaller things, and not only the smaller things, the results, what we get. Why did we get it? Could we improve on that or not? It doesn't matter. Just pay the attention to results. So the biggest obstacles in productivity, so literally taking it in contrast, if I want the biggest sprint results, best path on productivity is I need to have trust. I don't need to fear conflict. I need to be committed. And so does my team or the other stakeholders involved. This is not per person. This is for the stakeholders involved. I need to take accountability. They need to take accountability. There needs to be accountability. And I need to pay attention to results. Ladies and gentlemen, that is literally that for today's meeting. I hope there were some elements that you can take from that. Some things in terms of really to see confidence is something that is in your control, something that can promote you in a sense of being more productive and your productivity to confidence. I hope that there was nothing that confused you. I'm going to open up the floor for any Q's and A's, but anyone that wishes to go or needs to go, you're more than welcome to go. And I just in advance for those of you that want to leave, want to thank you for your time and thank you for being here. But we are open for any questions.